Since the dawn of the transatlantic slave trade, black people have been demeaned, dehumanized, tortured, subjugated, utilized, and exploited in the name of the advancement of the rich white agenda. And yet, black culture remained throughout the incessant beatings and inhumane treatment, changing and evolving into the globally influencing force it is today. From our language, regional and universal colloquialisms, to our music and its multitude of nuances, to our hair and its alien nature to all others, and even our cuisine and way of dressing, black culture has penetrated nearly every facet of the world. Join me on my journey to find the extent of its exploitation and the essence of this deeply rooted and influential culture. As a black man, what would you define black culture as, and how do you show aspects of that culture in your everyday life?
Well, several ways in which I guess I would define that. One is I'm a dad. I'm a single parent. I have responsibilities for my children, and that means raising them in a society and an environment where their identity is often not viewed in a favorable light. And so
you can't really put black culture in a box because we're defined and we got so much swag in all different aspects of the culture. So you might have the black swag. Hip hop, you might have the black swag. Doctors, you got some people just super wealthy, and they try to put us in the box, but they really can't put us in the box. And so the culture becomes an idea.
As a black woman, what would you define black culture as?
I would define black culture as everything that descendants of African descendants have contributed. So since they've been brought here as slaves.
Black culture is a multitude of things, from our music to literature to creative arts, to the way that we love each other. There's no one answer, and I think that as we live our lives on a daily basis, we are using or touching upon aspects of our culture.
As a young black boy, what would you define black culture as, and how do you show that black culture?
Well, I think that black culture is the foundation that the United States was built upon. As slaves, as you know, slaves built this country from the ground up, and that's basically how we started, from slaves.
And then
What aspects of black culture do you think white people have adopted as their own?
I think, the easy stuff, right, is like how sports was one of the great first integrators, right? Because people want to see their teams do well. And so when black athletes were permitted access into mainstream U.S., it was primarily through music and through sports. And so it's not unusual for people who may have a particular bias against a group to still have a high affinity because of the way we, quote, perform. But I think usually it shows up, and what I've become aware of is that it shows up in both our pop culture, our language, our dress, our music, and even to some degree fashion and the way that folks present themselves, right?
And we don't take that same economic dollar and bring it back to us. We then take our dollar. My personal feeling is they take our culture when we allow them to take all of our money outside of the black community.
It seems like anything that has become popular gets somehow co-opted or adopted by the mainstream culture. So that would be the music, like for example, Elvis Presley emulating some of the soulful sounds of his predecessors, to speech, I've even noticed during commercials how it's become, I don't know if I would say black or urban, but I guess it's part of the black culture, a subset of the black culture. The commercials, the undertones, the speech, the music, the mannerisms, the way people are dressed in different commercial settings, I think that's been the most evident to me in how products are marketed to the mainstream community.
Short answer, nearly everything. The only original art form of music that America has contributed to the world is jazz, invented by black people. So from jazz to hip hop, there have always been imitators of black culture, and that continues to be true today.
Either hair, clothing, music.
I feel like our music is the best way to really provide an example of what black culture is and why it's so prevalent, why it's always around. And it's because black music is our expression of how we're feeling. It's the way to communicate with each other. And you can even see the changes in music just over a couple of decades, and that's what I'm going to show you guys right here.
Going down, meet me in the mall. Soldier boy, I finna. Why me crack it? Why me roll? Why me crack? Fuck with us and then we tweaking, ho, tweaking, ho. Run up on that nigga, get the squeezing, ho, squeezing, ho. On the block, hit the quad, hit the
on bank, on bank.
I got shooters, so I hope a nigga ain't know nothing. Made me slime.